This is going to be a little bit long winded, but I want to talk about a word that I don't like to throw around lightly, like Harp does with franchise player. A word that hockey fans like to sit on their couch with their beer and reminisce with their buddies, talking about the glory days. A word that we had to move away from in the NHL video games because, well, it just didn't come up as much anymore. And that word is dynasty. You know, the early 80s Islanders winning 4 of 5 straight cup final runs, the late 80 Oilers winning 4 straight, 90s Pens, 90s Wings. After that, we didn't have one forever. The Pens, Blackhawks, King, three-headed monster, 2012 to 2017, but none of them were dynasties. Tampa had 3 straight finals and 2 cups, but somehow, people are throwing bubble asterisks on them. Maybe if they won that third one, they're a dynasty. Well,
I think that's got to be the definition, right? 3 in a row is a dynasty.
3 in a row could be it. I don't know. Where do you draw the line? But I think that this year, one team has a chance to take a giant leap towards being a dynasty, and that team is the Florida Panthers. Last year, Cup champs. The year prior, they were the 8th seed and went and lost in the Cup final. The year before that, they were the President's Trophy winning team. And this season, they are tearing it up. Second only to Winnipeg in the league with an 11-3-1 record, while missing Tkachuk for 5 games, Barkov for 8 games. The next man up mentality, high scoring, physical, suffocating defense. They haven't had that good of goaltending yet. And look at their record. Sam Reinhart has found another gear. Sam Bennett has been incredible in a contract year for himself. Lundell stepped up big when Barkov was gone. I really like what I see from them right now, and so does Money Puck, who has them with the greatest odds to make the Cup finals and win the Cup. The results of the season, it's going to really start the conversation for dynasty, depending if they make the finals or win the Cup again. But where it gets interesting for me is that the Florida Panthers are in a great cap situation too. Reinhardt's 8.625 for the next 3 years. Tkachuk, 9.5 for the next 3. Barkov, 10 million for the next 3. That's 32% cap space for their top 3 players compared to the Leafs with 40.6, and maybe next year even higher. Colorado 35.1, Edmonton 34.4, 40.6 next year. I like the situation they're in. They have 15.7 million to lock up Ekblad and Bennett, who are the only guys of real value up in contracts next year, and then some more depth. The cap situation and the age of this team and everyone being locked up for another 3 years just screams highly competitive team moving forward. And then they're hitting on draft picks. Jack Devine, 7th round. He's got 17 points in 10 games NCAA right now. Last year he had 56 points in 44 games. Absolutely tearing it up. You throw him in there with an ELC contract, one more ELC contract, this team could be the start of a dynasty moving forward. And it's really up to this season right here. So that's my story to watch this year.
That's a great one to keep an eye on, because the Panthers, it seems like they kind of came out of nowhere. Like they were this scrappy team of kind of misfits. Like in the past, we've compared them to a Vegas who, they had a bunch of bargain bin players who were kind of just assembled and thrived in that position, getting more of an opportunity. So it's an interesting take, because dynasty, I think you need 3 championships in a row. That's where I'm going to draw the line when I describe a dynasty. Otherwise, I think the Capital or what am I saying? The Blackhawks, rather, the Penguins, the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think all of those teams, and maybe even the LA Kings, or else we're calling them dynasties, but they didn't get 3 in a row. So I don't think.
Yeah. But they also didn't the President's Trophy in there. And I don't know. I think it's really building that way.
Yeah. And listen, it's semantics. It depends how you define dynasty. And that's where I'm drawing the line, is 3 championships in a row. And the Florida Panthers have the team to do it. And like you mentioned, they've got guys locked up. They've got their entire core really locked up for years to come. losing a couple bodies on the blue line didn't really seem to make this team miss a step here. And, talking about hitting on draft picks, Anton Lundell, Baby Barkov has been an incredible player this year. He's only getting better. So,
Five
yeah, like
million for the next 3 years.
that's the thing. So they're in this window now where they've got everyone locked up. The Atlantic, we talked about a couple weeks ago, maybe being the best division in hockey. Maybe we walk that back a little bit because it might be one of the closest divisions in hockey in terms of the top four teams and maybe one or two others, but it's still, pretty lackluster at the bottom. So they've got a good opportunity again to steal a lot of divisional points and win the division. So yeah, they're in a good spot right now. And you look back even a few years, you look at the Bobrovsky deal and you think, okay, like why are they spending their money this way? And maybe you think that some of the players on this team could have gotten less or taken less and they're not going to continue their production. Like Reinhardt, for example, we thought would kind of tail off this season. Well, he's been incredible. So you just never know. And so a few years ago, you think to yourself, okay, maybe they're not spending their money as wisely. But now you look at the cap situation, they've got everyone locked up and they're ready to go for the next, 3 to 5 years. So in a good spot. I would push back on the dynasty claim, but we'll see what happens going forward.
That's a great one. And Chad, I think I'm in agreement with you that it would need to be, 3 championships in a row. But there is an argument to be made that, even the Tampa Bay Lightning are kind of dynasty light, I guess you could say, for reaching the Stanley Cup Finals 3 years in a row. Florida has not skipped a beat, no cup hangover. Another young player that sticks out to me who's coming along nicely is Mackie Samoskevich as well for Florida. He looks like a player for them and will be for some time. But you can't ever count this team out, and they have just it seems like they've just been able to make one good decision after another, and they've all been trades. Like it's not like they drafted this entire team. Like Bill Zito has been just aggressive and he's made the right moves, and some moves that some of us looked at like, but it's worked out, and here they are again, right at the top of the league, just about. And it would not surprise me if they went back again and possibly won for the second year in a row. So that's a great one. I certainly see an argument for it.
I just, at this moment, I don't see a team in the East beating them in the playoffs.
They're just so big and talented. Like they kind of have everything, and they're well coached too, which is something that I don't even know if we've really mentioned, but that's another thing. Like when it comes to a dynasty, it doesn't necessarily have to be with the same coach, but I think for most dynasties it is, and you try to keep together as much as the band as you can. And Paul Maurice, before this, he was looked at as a pretty good coach, but until he won with Florida, he hadn't won anything throughout his career, and he had coached for quite a long time. So getting that cup under his belt and just him being able to see that, his efforts can pay off at the highest level is kind of a scary thing too. And now the players who are there, who were on the team last year, are probably even more bought into his system. So yeah, it's scary. And last thing on the Panthers, Harp, you mentioned that, a lot of the players were acquired through trade and not necessarily drafted by the team and developed by the team. It's kind of crazy. Like look at their forward lineup. Like I'm just looking at their top 6 right now. Rodriguez, not drafted. Barkov was the only player in their top 6 who was drafted by them. Reinhardt, Verhaeghe, Bennett, Kachuk, like all of these guys. And then you go down the lineup like Boquist, like all of these guys are acquired by trade. And there aren't many teams around the league who are constructed like this because of the salary cap, and it's hard to sign UFA players and make good hockey deals that makes your team better. So it's interesting the way that they're built, but I think that's what makes them kind of different.
The one player I got to say there, Verhaeghe, he may as well have been drafted by Florida because he was just absolutely nobody until they grew him into this clutch beast.
Yeah. And what did he sign for? Do you guys remember
7
what the number
is? He turns into 7 next year.
Yeah,
for 3 years.
Oh, really? It's only 3. Damn.
That everyone, their longest contract is 3 years, and it's like all of the core is 3 years. And that's what I'm saying. This next 3 years is just going to be a window for them.
I like that bet, honestly. Keep the core together, keep the band together, and see what you can do.
Yeah.
Certainly. All right, Chad.